Welcome, everybody. Well, Jermell Charlo has been running his mouth. He called out Canelo, and we're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about this mighty warrior who came and has challenged the king at
The
168.
Lion King.
And I got some shit to say, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit. But first, I want to welcome the homies who are with me. Nopal Boxianos, the YTBC legend, and a very special guest, Julian with Off the Ropes Boxing and
What's
MMA,
going
man.
on,
And we're
gentlemen?
here.
What's going on, gents? Nice. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for being here, man. We are excited to talk some boxing, man. But we're gonna save Jermell Charlo, because I'll tell you this. If you look at our history, I've had nothing but good things to say about Jermell. But that's ending here. I'm ready to talk some shit. I'm gonna talk some shit here in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the scandal that happened over the weekend. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This man right here, Tony Weeks, with what some people are saying is one of the worst stoppages they've ever seen. I think it's the worst stoppage that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Julian, I know you were watching it. Bro, tell me, was this the worst stoppage you've ever seen?
Well, it's funny because we're all talking to each other at the same time, and then all of us at the same damn time text WTF. What the fuck? We all did that.
Right.
What was that about? So me, personally, we've seen Tony Weeks. Andre Durrell almost killed a guy about what, a month ago, 2 months ago?
Right.
It's same judge. He was a Bodoo Jack, a part of the Bodoo Jack fight, and Bodoo Jack split his head open. He still let that go the whole fight. And then you have the illustrious fight, Corrales, Castillo, he was a part of. And
right.
Why stop it? Why make this, why did this happen? Why Tony Weeks? I think that's what we're all asking right now. There's a question of why would you rob, Barroso, who pretty much, I'm pretty sure half the boxing world had up at that point, but he robbed him, of, pretty much the next payday.
You know what? This poor old Barroso, this poor 40-year-old man. Julian is asking why. Nopal, why don't you tell him why this happened, bro? I have a feeling you know why. Go ahead, tell me.
It's just a setup, bro. You already know how PBC rolls.
Yeah, in-house,
right?
Yeah,
they're pretty transparent about how they run things over there. I've seen a couple fights like that, but this fight is weird because Barroso is not. I don't think he was even getting connected with them shots at all.
Nope.
And Tony Weeks goes in there and just stops the fight. So basically, they needed Rolly to win this, and we know who he's calling out now.
Yeah,
which makes all the sense in the world now.
It definitely does. I want to give a shout out to JC, who's in the house. Ron PMC wants us to have a great show, and El Capitan D-Style Boxing, man. Thanks for coming by, brother. Dude, I totally agree with what you guys had to say. And yes, dude, the fix was in. It was obvious. This was the worst stoppage I've ever seen. I was watching the fight. And at the time, bro, I remember thinking to myself, dude, you know what? This is not going according to plan. Romero was a huge favorite. He was supposed to get this gift belt that was set up for him to win. People have gone over it, dude. The guy took a loss a year ago at 135, goes up for a vacant title at 140 just like that for no damn reason. The guy wasn't ranked anywhere in any division.
Yeah.
Gets this cushy title fight against this old man that he's supposed to wash. And what happens, dude? He starts getting spanked by the 40-year-old, which feels good when you get older, right? When you can still bring it to the young man, right? But you know what, dude? This was scandalous. And the way Tony Weeks went in there like a bozo trying to be coddle him like something had happened. The fix was in. And I think that we need, I'm glad, Nopal, that you talked about who's at fault. You named the PBC. Yes, I think the PBC directly had something to do with it because it was a setup, because having the belt on Rolly makes sense. People are like, oh, well, Rolly's not worth that much. It's like, well, no, he might not be worth that much, but that title has value. Also, set up for future storylines has value. He's calling out Ryan Garcia, right? And that could be somewhat of a lucrative fight. It sets up Tank to have another easy cherry pick once again in just a couple fights. Dude. This stoppage was disgusting, dude.
It was sick to my stomach.
Yeah, dude. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. And it's like D-Style said here, he put hands on Romero. I want to give a shout out to Nando Llamas, who's in the house, dude. What's happening? And all I can say is that I do blame Tony Weeks. He's on the take. Yes, you heard it from me. PBC's at fault too. I also want to blame the WBA, right? I think they're all at fault. Also, Sam Watson. Sam Watson was there. He was telling Romero like to come in, right? And he was standing right behind Romero at the end. Like, dude, people go years in this sport trying to get a title, bro. And it's not Romero wasn't even celebrating like he won a title. Like he just got this thing. He didn't care, bro. Like usually it means something when they get their first title. Like it was almost like an afterthought. It wasn't even really mentioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, he didn't even say anything. Like, you see what he mentioned too? Like, well, he hits harder than Tank. He says, like, okay, like, didn't Tank knock you out?
He was, yeah. He used to say that what's his name hits harder than Tank too. Ryan. He was probably with Samson. Did you say Samson was he was telling Romero something? He was probably saying, "Hey, we're gonna have to take a little money out of your check, bro, to give Barroso." You know, because we told him not to protest this. You know.
Yeah. What's up, Georgie?
Hey, George.
Hey, what's up, guys?
He's
Man,
here. He made
We're
it.
just cooking on this scandalo right here, bro. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what are my thoughts? So I, you
So
know, of
how
course,
many times has this happened? Pretty much. Tell us, George.
yeah. I mean, so I did it wasn't a deep dive. It was a little bit of a dive, you know, on Tony Weeks. Yeah, he has some very notable fights, and obviously we know the Castillo and Corrales is probably the biggest one. Badu Jack is another one that comes to mind. Also, he's done like Kovalev and Andre Ward. He's done many fights, and honestly, this like these kinds of things don't really surprise me with any kind of ref. Like, I mean, is there in the game? Can we say is there like a legit ref? Right? Like, it feels like there's every promoter or every fighter has his very own ref. And it's just unfortunate that it had to be Tony Weeks. Like Tony Weeks was kind of like he was one of my favorites. You know, people do funny things for a little bit of money, right? They say do something strange for a little change, and I feel like that's exactly what Tony Weeks did here. And it sucks, bro. It really sucks that he went this route. If that's the case, I mean, you know, we hate to throw on the foil hat on and call conspiracy, but I mean, it was just way too obvious. Watching it live, you know, we're on the little group chat sharing our thoughts on it. And of course at work, you know, sometimes I have little moments sometimes where I could watch some fights, and that's exactly what I did. I watched it again, and I was pretty disgusted, man. I was like, this can't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. It's boxing. You know, with these kinds of things, and not just stoppages, but scoring, you know, us not getting the fights that we want. Like, this continues to put, you know, to blacken the eye to boxing, as they say. So this is kind of another one of those things that here has happened. And with a guy like I think he's a good ref. I think he's a pretty legit ref. I mean, apart from
29 years is a long time.
Yeah, exactly. They said he had. So actually, I saw a video. A guy posted it 3 weeks ago. Tony Weeks has, I think, exactly 836 fights that he's refereed. So he's close to 900 fights that he's refereed. So I mean, shit, if it's your one fuck up at almost 900 fights, I mean, you still got like an A, right? I mean, if we're going, you know, scoring on a grade scale, it's still an A, but at the same time, it's pretty bad, bro. Like, I mean, it just shows that again, you know, people do some weird stuff for some money. I think from the beginning, I think Weeks, maybe the judges, but I could say maybe not the judges, because they actually have Barroso up, and I was surprised to actually see that. I thought there was going to be the other way around. I thought, you know, they would have given like Barroso one round, the round that he actually knocked down Rolly in it. But then I saw it and I was like, okay. But the only one that was pretty shitty was the rounds were even almost, but like, of course, you know, the 10-8 gives you the advantage. It gives you that extra point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It just continues to, like I said, with these kinds of things, it continues to blacken the eye of boxing. Rolly definitely he's not a good fighter, bro. Like, I mean, he pretty much just searches for like that one shot. Like he's some knockout artist, which he's not. You know, he struggles in there with guys that can move around, that give him different looks. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens from here. I mean, he's called out Ryan Garcia. We just recently were asking a couple weeks ago, like, what's next for Ryan Garcia? Why not? Why the fuck not make this? You know, this would be Ryan Garcia would win this fight a couple years back
easily.
Yeah, before it was because I mean I'm sure you guys seen the sparring matches, and that's how I was
Yeah, the
introduced to
sparring.
Rolly. Yeah, exactly. That's how I was introduced
Yeah.
to Rolly. I was like, okay, like this dude, he's calling out Ryan Garcia. He shows up to all the fights, front row. He's calling him a pussy, a bitch. You know, hey, let's make the fight. And Ryan Garcia's kind of like walking by with Oscar De La Hoya, not paying him no attention. But they got history. They definitely got history. I think this could be like it's just that fight in the making. Like we're saying, who could Ryan Garcia fight? This would be a perfect fight for Ryan Garcia. It's a legit title, right? They made this a legit title to get. Let this be a title Ryan Garcia gets at 140. That's the only fight that makes sense to me.
Put it this way.
I wonder if Oscar lets him go over there though again, or because I know
True.
definitely BBC won't let little Ryan come over. I mean, Rolly come to the zone, or maybe they will because you know they just did a joint pay-per-view, right? So
Yep.
they've done business together now. Now it's like maybe these guys tell them now it's your guys' turn to return the favor, and if by any chance, you know, Ryan wins, then we'll go back to PBC for the, you know, whatever fight they want to do, you know, because that seems like the plan, I guess.
That's right. Nando here says Sam Watson is Uncle Al's own Jack Ruby. Now that's an old school reference, Nando. Does the dirty work, keeping the PBC hoes in check, and he's also excited about the fact that referee Harvey Dock will be, I believe he's going to be the referee for the Lomachenko versus Haney fight. We all found out about that today. Yeah. So that is good news, bro. And, you know, it's just Tony Weeks adding to his 401k.
Was Tony Weeks supposed to be the referee on that one, Chicano?
I don't know, but it sounded like he got switched out, or it was some kind of announcement. Yeah, like it was supposed to maybe be Bayless or something. But people were pretty excited about it being Harvey Dock. And then Nando here thinks that Ryan Garcia ain't going to fight Rolly. Too much stink on Rolly. Well, that's the thing, bro. And it's like, you know, everybody's getting all indignant, but it's like, where's the accountability? Like, you know, everybody gets to throw up their arms and be angry like we are. Justifiably so. But is anything going to happen? Like, we just have to take it and like it, just like we always do. And they're going to see the apathy because, like, you know, the media is not going to go at them that hard. We will, right? And, you know, but eventually we're going to forget about this. Like, it wasn't even that long ago. Do you guys remember that scandal with the WBA? Like, I don't know, it was like a year ago. It was like this, it was like a sanctioned fight. This guy somehow got a baby belt title on the line. He got a robbery. And then like the dudes like from the WBA, like his husband was like a ref. And it was just all that. Do you guys remember that? It wasn't even that long ago. I should have information on this, but the WBA has had stains recently, and we just don't talk about it. I'll have to look that up. But like I said, the WBA is at fault.
Are we talking about Tank's Mickey Mouse title?
No, dude, it was like it was some real blatant robbery. But I mean, like, oh my,
I remember.
Like, that's what I'm saying. What's that?
I remember some dude calling the WBA, you know, on his YouTube video and being all mad over the phone. It was funny. That's, you know, but there has been a lot of scandals like that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Oh, there we go, Bartholomew. Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That was a rematch, I think.
Yeah. So it was the WBA interim title welterweight match. It was supposed to be this guy named for Maestre, right? Or I don't know, whatever. My point is you can find a lot of articles, bro, and they're corrupt. You know what I mean? We back out. That's about right, man. Well, you know what? I'm gonna get this bitter taste out of my mouth. Raleigh, he's a wormy dude. And if he does fight Ryan Garcia, we will have some exclusive cheeseman about that fight. We are going to break something. I have screenshots that I don't think anybody else has that will build up that fight real nice. And I do want to apologize ahead of time to the innocent bystanders that will suffer from it. These guys know what I'm talking about, man. I got some screenshots that were only up for a second. I might be the only one who has them, but I'm only going to release them if that fight is made.
Don't start a fire right now.
I know. That's just a little teaser. Although
there's a little smoke.
Yeah, I have read one of them out loud on a previous episode. If anybody wants to go back and take a little look at that.
And I kind of feel sorry for you, Chicano, because you're gonna put the news out, and then somebody's gonna come through and steal your shit. And make money
no doubt. I was thinking about watermarking these screenshots that I have, you know, and just kind of putting like our watermarks on there, right? So if they use it, because everybody's gonna give their take on it, right? And if they do, I expect them to, and they're gonna cook. But I mean, I'm the one with the screenshots. I'm the one with the timeline. I'm the one with the knowledge. So it's all going to be based on what I have to say. And then everybody else is going to cook. Sure. Give me a shout out, you know, but I'll be excited. So we'll see. And then, you know, I have to worry about like, you know, the bad. It's kind of like bad stuff if I leak it, you know, but I'm Ryan, quit like a bitch. That's part of the reason I'm doing it. Right. And the screenshots are out there because somebody put them out there. So I'm going to use them. Okay, that's how I'm going to justify it. If Ryan versus Rolly gets made next. But, dude, I want to talk about what the second part of my thumbnail is. We're going to get into Haney versus Lomachenko here in a little bit. But I want to talk about this brave, noble warrior who stepped out. Somebody else has thrown their name in the hat to
The
possibly
Simba King.
get a fight. Now, I'm sure you guys all have probably seen the video. But if you haven't, let's roll the clip, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Why they don't make Canelo fight undisputed? Tag Eddie Hearn. Undisputed versus undisputed. Fuck it. I'm 150. I gained a little weight. Canelo.
Canelo.
Not Eli and Kobe. Canelo. Like, nigga, don't fuck with me, nigga. Like, for real. Let me show y'all what it is. Why y'all don't make Canelo versus CHARLO? Fuck y'all talking about, nigga. Somebody put that shit together. Little CHARLO will fight anybody. Nigga, I ain't never done no smoke, nigga. Undisputed versus undisputed. That could be a big thing in boxing. Fuck it, nigga. That bitch can't beat me with that shit. His last performance, that bitch can't beat me. Motherfuckers. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Eddie Hearn, go put that CHARLO shit together.
Well, we need to stop playing with Jermell Charlo, man. He wants that smoke. Okay, now this is a fight that kind of took me by surprise. I always thought it was kind of a feasible fight, but I always thought if anybody was going to do it, it would be Jermell. But Jermell is the fighter who, you know, is not as far removed from the ring, right? He's only been out for a year, but he's talking about a 2 weight class jump, an undisputed champion going up to face Canelo Alvarez. Man, I did not even consider this fight, but hey, he's calling out Canelo. He even said, like, when Canelo did make an offer to Jermell in 2019, he said on a video, like, I would have never turned down that offer, but now he's actually calling out Canelo, calling him a bitch, calling him faded, right? Georgie, what are your thoughts on this?
Did he say Ali Hearn or Eddie Hearn? Like, I mean,
he was drinking that syrup, man. It's all right. He's having a
I
good
was like,
time.
who the hell?
Sound like he put an R in undisputed too. He's
Hearn,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny shit. Honestly, you know, when we think about the names that are thrown out there for the Canelo fight, I mean, CHARLO, right, is one, but it's not Jermell.
The good
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I really don't know how I feel about it. Like, I like it. I don't mind it. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, if we're gonna, you know, big up Canelo, I mean, it is 2 weight classes, right? And we can't. I'm not saying they're the same fighter, but you know, Canelo dared to be great to go to 175 to fight an undisputed, almost an undisputed guy, and Bivol. Like, you know, he's jumping 2 weight classes to fight the undisputed guy at 168. So even if it wasn't CHARLO, even if it wasn't Canelo, like if it was a different weight class, 2 different guys, and any guys calling out, you know, I'm like, okay, like whatever, dude. I mean, you either calling your name out for clout or you really do believe that you could do it. I don't see no issue with it. I mean, of course, you know, if Canelo wins, you know, the narrative will be like, oh, well, he made a guy come up 2 weight classes. He won't get any kind of props. We know that, but at least for me, that wouldn't be me. You know, like you guys know, like I'm pretty fucking down the middle with a lot of stuff. Like I try to be fair. Like I'm on the side of boxing. Like I really don't have a favorite fighter. Like I like fighters. I think my last favorite fighter that I was really hardcore for was Cotto, but you know, he's done and retired. So,
still
I just find it, yeah. I do find it funny though. Like it's perfect timing here for him to go ahead and call his name out. It is some clout chasing, but if that fight was to be made, I mean, I don't know. I don't see no problem with it.
And looks here like JC thinks that CHARLO should wear a Pink Panther suit instead of a lion. Logic, thanks for joining us. He says that Jermell deserves a shot at Canelo over Jermell. Well, I agree with that. Julian, what do you think about all this, man?
You know, I do agree with what George said. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but 2 weight classes is like Earl Spence and Mikey Garcia. You know, like I just feel like it's just that kind of vibe. You know, I mean, yes, you want to dare to be great. I mean, but I mean, everybody saw what Canelo looked like his last fight. So now all of a sudden, the world's jumping now. You know, so, you know, for me, yes, right now I think it's just a clout thing, you know, just to put his name in the hat, you know, but at the end of the day, I mean, he still needs to take a fight. He's been out of the ring a year. I mean, you and your brother still come from the same sack. So I'm just saying that right now.
They sure do, man. And Jermell is technically the younger brother. Okay, so Nando here says they bring their own fans, unlike Benavidez or Bivol. Well, that's a very good point, man. And I just want to talk about things. If we're talking about, and the conversation lately has been about who is the face of boxing, right? And I want to talk about if this fight would be marketable. Okay, so now this just as a reference, right? So everybody remembers, and this is according to Rick
Yes,
Glazer. Take it
exactly.
how you like. The Charlos did do a pay-per-view together. Okay, general consensus is that they did under 100,000 buys, right? I looked around, and I'm going to use Rick Glazer for both references, but he said that they did around 77,000 and then upwards of 100, depending on like which outlet, right? But it was a Charlo doubleheader, okay? And then Benavidez, according to most people, did 102,000, right? Aram says less than 100,000. So, I mean, somewhat in the ballpark of within 20,000 buys, right? I mean, it's really not that much of a difference. Okay. So some people might go, oh, well, there were 2 Charlos on that card. And like, that's true. But then on the other side, like David Benavidez had Caleb Plant. That's the best B side out of either of those cards. Actually, quite a notable B side. Canelo did, I think he did like 800,000 with Caleb Plant. And that was a good feud, right? So if you're just looking at numbers, like I think the two are comparable, right? And it's like Mayweather said, dude, you get your Mexicans and African American fighters have been dominating the sport for years, and you get your biggest pay-per-views when you throw the two together, right? Now that's what he said when he came back and he fought Marquez. Okay, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But I just want to go through some things real quick and talk about just to show you guys how that is typically true. We forget that Floyd Mayweather actually did quite good numbers with Mexicans that weren't all that great, like Guerrero. Okay, that's a little surprising, right? We're going to get into some other things. But before I go further into this, Nopal, what are your thoughts, man?
I just wanted to say that, I think that everybody's kind of thinking that Canelo's like, not doing as good as he should. Maybe he's on the downside of his career. And all these guys, all they're doing is making it easier for Canelo. Ultimately, if he decides to make that decision to have like the last preservation run of his career and just take these easy fights. These guys are falling right in his lap, He's got a list of guys that he can fight right now, and he can negotiate with multiple opponents right now. And at the same time, when these guys say no to the offer, he can put that out in the public. And the public's going to go crazy for all this information right here. He'll be like, well, we offered Charlo, but he ducked us. So, you know what I mean? The public goes crazy for that kind of stuff. And with all these guys that want to fight him, there's probably about 7 guys. Imagine out of those 7 guys, one of the guys is going to take the fight. So it's a golden situation for him to just, take it easy right now and just finish off his career with some really good pay-per-views, So I think this is good, that they're kind of keeping him as a face of boxing, and he could be the face of boxing for a long time, Like I said, I think he has a lot of fights. I even seen that De La Hoya was calling him out in behalf of
Munguia.
What's his name? Munguia. And I mean, we know that fight will do pretty good, and the golden thing about that is it won't be that hard to make because you don't got to pay Munguia that much either, because he's never really gotten paid that much. So that would be an easy fight to make, He's got a lot of options right now, basically. And Charlo, eventually, if they let him go over there or Canelo decides to go to PBC, it could happen too. And the good thing about Charlo is once he beats one Charlo, the brother's going to want revenge. And, that's a 2-for-1 special right there.
Dude, it would, man. And Nando here says that, that Tank's fight with Hector Garcia only did 61K. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like Canelo, if he wants to start making that money, I think it would be feasible. Okay. Now, and I just want to go back to just taking a look at some of these pay-per-view buys. Like, here's another example. And I didn't really realize this at the time. If you look at Oscar's numbers, he's got numbers with African-American fighters, and he's got numbers with Mexican fighters. Okay. And he did over 1 million with Bernard Hopkins back in the day. That number surprised me. Okay. This was one of the bigger events in boxing when it happened. Okay. And just let me go back for a second. And Canelo with the Mexican did do 1 million pay-per-view buys with Chavez Jr. Now, and I think you guys will agree, that fight had big buzz because of Chavez Jr.'s last name too, right? I mean, that was kind of like a big thing amongst Mexicans. Like I remember like I had old people talking about it who were just kind of casuals, like old Mexicans of like my grandparents. Like everybody knew this fight was going down. And on top of that, it wasn't really the best fight to make, but it sold because of the two names.
True.
Yeah, man. So on top of that too, dude. Okay, so Mayweather versus Marquez. Mayweather took time off, came back to fight a lightweight, and we're going to talk about when fighters do that 2 weight class jump here in just a second. But he came back and did over 1 million pay-per-view buys, okay? And a lot of people thought that was not going to happen. That surprised a lot of people, all right? With Victor Ortiz, Floyd did 1.25 million pay-per-view buys. Like, I found some of these surprising, like the fact that he did over 1 million with Guerrero and Ortiz, both very surprising. Again, not necessarily like super ideal opponents. I thought Ortiz at the time was a good opponent. Robert Guerrero was just kind of like whatever. I think he got lucky with kind of like the timing of things, if I remember right. Like, who did he beat? He beat Berto. He kind of moved up. Like, but I mean, I didn't think like, oh, he needs to see Guerrero. But I thought the Ortiz fight was good at the time.
Yeah, I agree. That was.
Yeah, he did pretty good numbers, man. That's surprising.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
did
dude.
millions with all those.
yeah,
all those
and
guys.
and I, we hate to use the whole streaming era thing, but I mean it's kind of evident. I believe with some of those fights, especially like a Guerrero, Marquez, if we put them in a streaming era, I mean, does it do a million? Does it do 700,000? Because I mean, even hardcores, they still stream shit. So it's hard to really say. It is impressive because I guess it's just the timing and era of
I know what you're
of
saying,
boxing.
bro. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're basically saying what we all got on our minds.
Yeah.
You're a real
Hey, I'm
boxing
sorry I
fan.
said it.
You're conditioned to basically got to do what you got to do to watch these fights now, because sometimes you pay for them and you're not happy with what you get. So,
Pretty
a
much,
real
yeah.
smart
A
guy is
perfect
going to
example was the
figure
tank
it
call.
out, huh?
Exactly. It was kind of like pushed down your throat. You're like, okay, here is this. And it wasn't like it was shit. It was just kind of like, all right, Guerrero, I guess, was the next guy in line. Cool. But
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But this is impressive. We all know that Floyd versus Canelo did excellent numbers. Now, some of the things that we're omitting is when an African-American fighter or a Mexican fighter would fight very notable B-sides that were not of the other race or their own race, right? So just as an aside, Georgie, Miguel Cotto, and I was looking at some of these numbers. I don't know if I've listed them here, but he did like 1.4 million with Mayweather, and he was also a very good B-side to Pacquiao. Did great numbers there. Also did 900,000 with Canelo. So he was an excellent B-side, and he was still very notable at the time when he fought those guys. He really had just a very nice era of making money and keeping his name amongst those elite fighters and only taking losses against the real elite at that time.
exactly.
Very
yeah.
notable B-side. Floyd versus Oscar De La Hoya right here. 2.4 million. 2.4 million, dude.
Everybody expected those numbers from that fight.
Yeah.
Well, I did at least. I expected to go over 1.5 at least at the time.
So this is a little post from somebody, I think it was from like Eastside Boxing. So somebody just kind of did a breakdown of all of De La Hoya's pay-per-view buys. Now, something that's missing here, of course, is, and it would have been notable because we are talking about if Canelo versus Benavidez would be the most lucrative fight, it would be good to know what the pay-per-views would have been for Oscar versus Chavez one. But as we all know, that was closed circuit, right? Historically, it didn't do that well, according to Bob Arum. People were expecting that to generate a little bit more. But the rematch was on pay-per-view, and it did 525,000 buys, as you can see here, right? He did 1.4 against the Puerto Rican and Trinidad, right? He did good numbers with Mosley in the rematch, 950,000 buys, right? And against Mayorga, 935,000 buys. So would Benavidez be like this B-side that would just like save Canelo? Like, I'm not so sure about that. I think that he could make money with Jermell Charlo, right? But, that's because I didn't consider Jermell, but I've always said it's the brand of the twins, right? And people are acting like Jermell Charlo is like the badass of the two, right? He's the guy who's been, fighting everybody, right? That's what they say, right? This whole thing about Charlo, and it bugs me a little bit, bro. It bugs me because you know what? Like, he's sitting there like, yeah, I got on my belts, and I've been talking really nicely about him, but dude, I mean, the guy, he fought a couple times at 147, okay? Has been at 154 his entire career, and he gets all this props for being undisputed. It's like, well, you should have cleaned up the division by now. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Run PMC, what's
You don't got to
happening?
do much on that side of boxing, bro. They get
That's what I'm
praised
saying,
for a lot
man.
of stuff,
That's what I'm saying, dude. So, but I do think that Canelo with the Charlos could generate probably about as much as he could with Benavidez. That's just my opinion. I think if you throw,
I wonder
go ahead.
which one sells more. Probably the Charlo one, huh? Because there's a lot of dudes that are going to be watching super scared that Charlo doesn't get knocked out. You know what I mean? And they're just going to be fearful of that fight. Because they're talking shit right now while they know that it's not really a possibility. The guy hasn't fought in a long time, and, it's not really possible that he just goes in straight into a Canelo fight. So they have the safety of he being protected. He's never going to get the fight. So let's run with it and, make it seem like we believe that this fight's going to happen and that Canelo's ducking him the whole time. And, that's a good selling point because, a lot of people don't like Canelo. So,
Yeah, and it's the name too. I mean, Charlo, right? I mean, does he deserve the fight or not? I mean, in a way, people kind of like the boxing fans kind of spoke up, right? It was Caleb Plant Benavidez. It was Benavidez's biggest step up fight with a pretty notable name, due to Canelo. So it wasn't like anybody was really calling for that, but they were calling for a step up fight from Benavidez. They put a pretty good card together. It made it pay-per-view worthy, right? Like the names that were on there. Now, if we had Benavidez versus Plant with a not so great undercard, that would have done way better than putting it on pay-per-view. So since you put all these good fighters on this card, it's kind of like your pay-per-view selling point. And I think fans have spoken, right? Just if we're calling for those fights, like if it is a Benavidez and Charlo, like those are probably like the two of the top names right there at PBC. I mean, Andrade is a name, but again, he hasn't done shit with his resume as of late, at the 160 weight class. So I think if you do put on Benavidez and Charlo, like it would do pretty decent. I don't think it would do like the Caleb Plant numbers would have done. I think it would do a little bit more. And again, it's two notable names. They're both undefeated. It would be a fight that people would want to see.
You know what? I think that all three of those fights, if they're on PBC, they do at least. Well, the Andrade fight will probably do maybe about 500,000, and the other ones I think it'll do about 750. Both of them, the Benavidez and the Charlo fight, and that's a range, because it can go all the way up to 1 million. It just depends how much drama they bring to the fight, because a lot of Canelo fans, that's what they're waiting for. They want to see things get chippy in there like they did with Caleb, and that'll sell a fight really easily for him, He doesn't really even have to do none of that. But if some of that stuff were to happen, it would just bring more fans to want to purchase the fight,
Yeah.
Damn, maybe Plant did earn his 10 million by talking that shit, because actually those numbers weren't all that bad, because Canelo didn't do very good numbers with Ryder, right? And Mad Dog H here says that Charlo and Boo Boo are both saving their virginity for Nello. Well, I'll tell you this, dude. I'll tell you this, bro. And it's like you said earlier, Nopal, okay, in the grand scheme of things, we understand that Jermell Charlo versus Canelo is not really the best fight, okay? I think most even-headed people in the boxing media, right, small channels like ourselves, small channels like the Benavidez extremists, like we all want the Benavidez fight, okay? But there are higher level channels out there that are talking all kinds of shit. They've been talking all kinds of shit, and I've been hearing it. I have a problem, dude. There's certain channels that I allow myself to go, and it's what I call hate watching. I go and I listen to what they have to say. Usually it's like the PBC cult, okay? But I mean, I've been hearing for years that Canelo's been ducking the Charlos, been ducking Andrade. Okay, now you guys all know, like, Punch is just like on this big old, I don't know, he's on this big old thing, right? Like Canelo needs to face Andrade. Like, I mean, we all know that's probably for access. I mean, that's such a stupid fight. I mean, Drew's in the house, right? And even Drew will tell you, like, that's not necessarily the guy that Canelo needs to see next, right? But I've been hearing from channels, and I'm not talking about the small channels, okay? I'm talking about big channels, okay? Like the PBC cult, okay? With I'm talking like 10,000 views. I'm talking with like tens of thousands of subscribers. and they're talking that shit. Just like they've always been talking that shit, because it's like you said, Nopal, they know that this fight's probably not going to happen. I've been hearing them talk slick. They're saying shit like, oh, well, hey, you should take this fight. It's the perfect layup for you,
hear
right?
all of it, bro.
Yeah, everybody's saying that you don't fight black fighters, Canelo, or the right ones.
Yeah, you're ducking
do
the
this
black
one.
smoke, huh?
Yeah, make them come up to you, right? I've also been hearing predictions of Jermell winning. I've been hearing them talk all kinds of shit about how Canelo's been ducking them since 154, and we know why. They're talking and they're talking and they're talking, and I do have some receipts of actual notable channels, right? So in the grand scheme of things, while this wouldn't be the best fight, it would be extremely satisfying for me just to watch Canelo knock out Jermell, right? That's all I can say. Like, I'm at the point now where it's like I would get a lot of satisfaction out of it, because I've been hearing these guys talk for years now, shit talking, even though Canelo did offer Jermell Charlo the fight, which we all know. They want to act like they didn't hear it, but he did, right, in 2019. So I would get extreme satisfaction out of this fight, man. I'm telling you. Lions only.
Man.
Lions only. Okay, now let's just talk about Jermell. One, I do believe he wants to smoke. And you know what? It is notable that he does want to jump up 2 weight classes. Now, that's actually something that should be respected and admired. Okay, now it takes courage for fighters to do it. Only great fighters tend to go up to do it and to fight dominant champions that are reigning in their own division. Okay, now I want to talk about the 2 weight class jump. Now, De La Hoya was not actually dominant at 147 at the time. He was a 154 pounder, went down to 147 to fight Pacquiao. We all remember this fight. Now, at the time, now we did think that this fight was kind of a joke, right? Everybody thought this was ridiculous. But then again, Manny Pacquiao came from whatever the hell lower weight classes. And he did fight. He went to fight Diaz, right? David Diaz, who was not like the greatest lightweight. And then he went up to 147. He went past 140 to 147 to fight De La Hoya. De La Hoya was a notable favorite. Anybody have any thoughts on this particular fight and how you felt ahead of this fight? Anybody want to reflect on it?
I just knew that's exactly how it was going to go.
For real?
Yeah, I really did, because even though, I mean, we had faith, we're like, come on, De La Hoya. De La Hoya was the best at 147. He was already beyond his time. The Mayweather fight already happened. I just felt like Pacquiao, we had coming up smaller. I just feel like he was. I just knew that it just wasn't going to be we just knew it wasn't going to be the full De La Hoya. I know, like, I had friends at the time I was working at a call center, so they were all hyped about it. Like, of course, I've always been a boxing fan. I'm like, man, I don't know, like, this is a fight that De La Hoya shouldn't have taken. Like, he hasn't been at 147 in quite some time. And when the fight happened, they were devastated, bro. They were devastated at work. They're like, I can't believe it. Like, I'm like, hey, dude, like, you can't take it that hard. This isn't like De La Hoya was 25 years old fighting a Pacquiao. You know what I mean? This is De La Hoya prime. I promise you, like, this would be a completely different fight. I wasn't surprised. It was sad because, if you were, a fan of De La Hoya, you just wanted to see, him do the best, but it was just Pacquiao's time.
Oh yeah, dude, a prime 147 pound De La Hoya, like you said, Georgie, totally different fight. Anybody else want to reflect on this one?
George pretty much hit it on the button.
That was a pretty sad fight, man.
It was.
It was.
De La Hoya got his ass beat.
Yeah.
I was just coming into boxing back at the time, but I just kind of was
bringing
going
it
along.
up, Chicano.
Well, hey, it's a sore subject, but at the time, all I do remember is that everybody was expecting it, with the exception of Georgie, right? The odds were where De La Hoya was a 2-1 favorite. Okay, so the odds weren't that wide at the time, right? But everybody I don't know. A lot of people were expecting De La Hoya to go in there and do the number on him. A lot of people actually, I remember, because I was listening to YouTube, just getting back into it. A lot of people were pissed off about this particular fight, but we all know what happened. Pacquiao put a beating on De La Hoya, and the torch was passed to Pacquiao.
Wow, it gets better, huh?
Pacquiao would continue to capture our imagination moving forward. So they set the stage for him also doing very good numbers. Like I said, pay-per-view wise, he did very good numbers with Marquez too. Pacquiao did good numbers with Marquez a couple times, bro. I was surprised that the third one did over 1 million buys. Like, that one surprised me. Like, I didn't realize how notable of a B-side he was. But Pacquiao, he started pulling in some big pay-per-view numbers after this, man.
Hey, I mean, look at all the guys he was fighting, right? They were all Mexican, so that, I mean,
yeah, but everybody had a name though at the time, though.
It was, but
right. And boxing was just more popular in general at the time too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Less politics, I guess you could say, than now. The
Exactly.
bullcrap going on now.
We talked about this one earlier. It did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. Juan Manuel Marquez, the lineal lightweight champion, right? Beats Casamayor, beats Diaz, literally jumps up 2 weight classes without kind of going to 140, then going back to 135, and then doing a jump. He does a clean jump, calls out Mayweather, who's retired. Mayweather says, well, he called me out, and we all know what happened. This result did not surprise me. Okay, I think we all knew this was going down. I told myself, like, don't let those 24/7s convince me, right, that Marquez had a chance, right? Did anybody think Marquez had a chance, or did this all kind of go the way we thought it would?
Nah,
I thought he
it's just
did, bro.
Mayweather
I didn't
doing
know shit
Mayweather
about
thing.
boxing back then.
You
I
thought
was
Marquez
just
had a
always
chance?
hoping. I did. I don't know why, man. But I thought that Mayweather wasn't gonna blow the weigh-in and all that. You know what I mean? I didn't. It seemed like he did that on purpose.
Oh
Because
yeah.
because what's his name wanted to catch weight. It was obviously he's got to move up a little bit. Okay, the other guy claims he's not that big anyways, and that he could do the whatever. I don't remember the exact weight. I think they were supposed to fight at 145, and he ended up paying the penalty, and I don't really think that had anything to do with it, really. You know what I mean? He's just a better fighter.
Yeah, he doesn't even look
Better
good
fighter,
in that right there, Marquez. He just doesn't look like he was in shape. I mean, he had to put on weight, so it was
just
bad. I
slow.
was very
Whole
upset.
fight
I was
was in
just
slow motion.
exactly in my mind. I'm like, I hope he has a puncher's chance, and I think he did land a right hand, but it didn't really do anything.
Yeah. No, this is just like kind of a sad fight to watch, but I knew it was going to go this way. And Marquez was my favorite, and I just knew. I was like, there's no way he can just go up 2 weight classes and face Mayweather. And he did blow off the weigh-in. Mayweather did what he wanted to do, and he did the whole like, well, hey, he called me out kind of thing, right? I don't remember people being really so pissed off about it at the time. It was just something that we all accepted. And Marquez was a badass. He was a legit 135-pound champion. And Mayweather was coming off a little bit of a layoff. But we all knew what the deal was with this one, man. But Marquez tried it. Okay, let's talk about who else tried it. Kell Brook. Okay, now Kell Brook, a notable welterweight champion. Okay, I think he was undefeated. Yes, he was undefeated at the time. Went up 2 weight classes from welterweight to middleweight to fight a prime Gennady Golovkin, who was just mowing people down. Okay. This fight kind of snuck up on me when it happened, and I really didn't have a good idea of who Kell Brook was at the time, to be honest with you guys. What do you guys remember in the lead up to this fight about how you felt about it?
I thought at the time, I thought Gennady was taking advantage of a situation, basically. I thought, because his fans were always talking about Canelo being a weight bully, stuff like that, and not wanting to move up to fight Golovkin. And then Golovkin does the exact opposite. I mean, does the very same thing, I guess, and fights, a guy that welterweight. And so the welterweight had to go up, how many pounds? What is it, 13 pounds or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's 2 weight classes to fight him, and who he was considered the most dangerous fighter at that division.
Hey, no, Paul.
Canelo at the time.
Sorry, brother. I don't mean to interrupt you. Is something might be up with your mic? Let's see here. I
don't think it's mine, bro.
Yeah, mine is on
hear
mute.
it
It might be.
even when-
Is that you, Julian?
Even when I mute it.
Julian, I'm just going to mute you real quick just to see real quick. Oh, it might be Julian. Yeah, Julian, it might be you, bro. It's all quiet. Oh, Nopal's muted too now. Okay.
I muted myself.
About now.
Here.
Yeah, I'd muted myself too right now.
Okay, yeah. Now it sounds like there's a little bit of like background noise. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go along. Nopal, man, I didn't mean to interrupt you while you were cooking, man. Please go ahead, brother.
So, thanks for reminding me about this fight, by the way, because I really enjoyed this fight. I thought Kell Brook did very good, but I think it was bittersweet because it only lasted, 6 rounds? And then I thought he did very good. He exposed some things in Gennady Golovkin that obviously, made it easier for other fighters to say, hey, he's not that good at fighting on the inside, stuff like that. He's got to keep you out of range. And yeah, I thought this was a great fight, but ultimately it led to uh, the deterioration of Brook, because he did break his eye socket, and then, the guy goes back and fights Spence, and the same thing happens. He was doing pretty good versus Spence. Now, it makes you think, what if he would have never fought Gennady? Would he have been able to beat Spence? That's something to think about. I don't know.
Bro,
But
I think about
sometimes
that
it
same
doesn't work.
thing.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out the same, but it's something that we got to think about always. Because Brook was a pretty good fighter, and he made that decision. I don't know why, to fight Gennady Golovkin when Gennady Golovkin didn't ever even try to do a similar situation. So it's like Gennady never said, "Hey, let me step up to 168 or or light heavyweight to fight Kovalev." But then you got a guy like Brook who didn't need to do that. He went ahead and said, "Let me fight the most dangerous guy at 160."
Yeah.
Crazy, bro.
Broke his eye sockets. Georgie, what do you remember,
Yeah.
man?
Yeah, same thing. At the time, yeah, I was, I was giving it to Cal Brook because I was like, Cal Brook is the guy at 147. Like he's gonna rule that division for a very long time. I think he had beat Sean Porter, and at the time, like Sean Porter, same for me. I was like, that's another one of those good fights, and I was excited to see that. And Cal Brook beats Sean Porter, so then I'm like convinced that this is gonna be the guy at 147. On the other hand, too, no one was really lining up to fight, of course, Triple G, like all the stuff that he was doing, stopping people. Or was it, because like I really don't remember too much like detail like I know now, like certain things, like, they put it out there in the media for us to see, just like the Andrade and Canelo thing, like people said Canelo ducked Andrade when that wasn't the truth. Like Canelo was the one that was reaching out for that fight. So we don't know exactly too much detail, especially in that time when Triple G was in his reign, going through all these fighters. Was nobody interested in fighting him until Cal Brooks said, what, I'll do it, and he did really well. He outboxed. I always say, with those with certain fights, right? Just like the for me, like the Tank, when he's fighting guys, there's really no urgency. Just like there really was no urgency, I believe, in this Triple G fight. Yeah, he was getting outboxed on the inside, but I think he felt Cal Brooks' best shots, and he continued to mow him down. That's why he was able to get him out of there soon. It wasn't like he was stepping back; like he was still trying to mow him down. He wasn't in no kind of urgency, or he felt like he needed to do something, but he got him out of there, broke his eye socket, and that was kind of pretty much for Cal Brooks' career, right? He goes on to fight Spence, same thing, the other eye. So it ended up being two separate eyes. One was the left, the other one was the right. I think it would have been very interesting if this fight got to 10 rounds and Cal Brooks was still, putting on a good boxing, a good showing of what he did in the first 5 rounds against Triple G. But you got to give him, his props for stepping up when no one else really wanted to fight Triple G at the time when Triple G was running through everybody.
He was, dude. He had that aura of just mowing through folks. And like I said, I didn't really remember this fight. Although I do know that and it's like you guys said, great breakdown, but for both of you guys, that was awesome. But people tend to talk about this fight when they reflect on it. They say, well, Kell Brook, he was winning, or he was, outboxing Triple G for a while till he got mowed down. But George, you think it's more like he was just kind of taking his time with it until he ultimately just put down Kell Brook?
I think I do want to go back and watch it, but I remember my first thought in my head was like, okay, he knows he's stronger than this guy. He's just gonna show, like nothing's gonna stop me. And that's how he kind of was. Like we saw Triple G his career was, nothing was gonna stop him, and definitely some guy coming up 2 weight classes wasn't gonna do it. He was getting outboxed. There's no doubt about that. Cal Brook was doing some good things on the inside and boxing great from the outside as well. But I just think that Triple G just didn't feel any kind of urgency. He just didn't feel like I don't think he felt any kind of pressure. I just think he knew that once he got Cal Brook and once he knew he got Cal Brook hurt, like he was going to just finish him. And he pretty much did that.
Damn.
And, it's really hard to say when Triple G's exact prime, what like its peak is, because again, the level of competition is just, it's questionable. It's even like if you say right now, like, well, you know, he fought Brooke, but Brooke was coming up 2 weight classes. So, yes, Brooke was a great fighter, a great test for him, and probably one of the best ones that he ever fought up until that point. But the guy was, you know, 2 weight classes lower, so you still can't say that was a big test for Triple G.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, it's very hard to say when Triple G's peak was, because again, the level of competition that he was facing was pretty garbage. You know, if you ask me, you know, Gil, all these other guys that were nothing, you know, they were, you know, not even good, you know, and yeah, it's pretty tough, man.
I think Nopal was
I'm
trying to
gonna
say Euro
rewatch.
bums.
Uh-oh.
No,
Nah,
I'm just kidding. We don't use that
just,
word around here,
you
man.
know,
We got
just, you know,
Dang.
run of the mill type fighters that they gave Triple G credit for beating, you know.
Europeans? No, I'm just kidding.
pretty
I'm
much
just
Yeah,
kidding, Nopal.
again, yeah.
I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. I'm just messing around. Okay, so Sonia, talking about the Khan fight, and it's just kind of like the Kell Brook Triple G. We're doing the parallel here. That yeah, people said Khan did good against Canelo until Canelo got that knockout. That's a great observation. Nando here says that Triple G is the exact same age as Kelly Pavlik, almost to the day. She showed up in time for Hopkins, Winky, Jermaine, Andre Ward, Calzaghe, etc. I mean, that's true, dude. I mean, well, how long was he boxing for? You know, it takes these people a long time to get going sometimes, and it's like, but they want to blame everybody else for why they didn't get all these fights. I mean, shit. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, and in sorry about that, in Andre Ward's case, damn, what's 8 pounds? Canelo makes it seem like it's nothing. You know, what's 8 pounds? You could have fought the guy at 168, you know,
yeah.
but you know he didn't want to. I guess, you know.
I mean, there are certain weight jumps where I think, like, damn, that's a big weight jump. Like, just naturally, like 135 to 147, I'm like, that's a big jump. Okay, just like welterweight to middleweight, I'm like, fuck. I mean,
Yeah,
I
because
guess too, it could be sizable anyways, but I mean, like, fuck. I mean, those are some big weight classes to be jumping. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
especially those ones. Those are kind of like your marquee knockout. You see the knockouts happening, right? Like the smaller guys. Yeah, some of them do get knockouts, but you don't see like the devastating knockouts like we do, like from 135 all the way up to heavyweight. So yeah, it is when you see somebody jump like that. You know, I think knockout is kind of on my mind, at least which hasn't happened recently, but when I have seen the jumps, I was like, there's gonna be a definite knockout here somewhere.
Oh, yeah. And Logic here says that Canelo fought Euro champions while Andrade and Charlo, their 160-pound resumes are littered with Euro contenders. Great point. Like, and I was just joking around with Nopal because we don't use that term around here, Euro bum. Like, we have respect for European fighters who are the champions of their division because they're the best in their division because the best. It doesn't matter where they come from. They're the best in the world in that division if they're holding the belts. That's just how it is, right? There's no like I heard this stuff about even with Ryder. The shit was pissing me off. I heard this one PBC cult channel say something like this. He's like, well, he might be a top 5 fighter in Europe, but over here he'd be like a top 20. I'm like, well, what do you mean over here? Like, dude, he's top 5 wherever you look. He's top 5 in the world. Like, you don't just throw him in with the United States contenders and all of a sudden he's like way down there. He was a top 5 contender no matter how you want to slice it, right? I mean, these people are delusional. And they think that like you have to pass the test and fight American fighters. Like, well, I mean, if the American fighters are ranked 1, 2, or 3, or 4, well, then they could be in the conversation as like, you know, the guy that they need to see. That's how I feel about it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then here Nando's chiming in saying that the Euros scam the amateurs by staying until they're full grown men.
Yeah, they're like fighting with like 14-year-olds, huh?
Yeah, we're
Triple
gonna
G
be
over there knocking fools out.
we're gonna be talking about Lomachenko here in a second, Nando. Don't worry, man. We're gonna be speaking of that, but let's talk about this. Spence versus Mikey Garcia, or as he's known here on El Chile, Puro Pinchi Mikey. Now, I think, well, you guys know how I feel about Mikey Garcia, but he did kind of one of those pump fakes, right? Fights at 135, goes up to 140, goes back down to 135, and then does a 2-weight class jump to face Earl the Truth Spence because he sees something. He's undefeated. He goes to fight the number 1 ranked welterweight, 135 to 147. Georgie, what were your thoughts ahead of this particular fight?
I guess I really didn't know too much. I mean, of course, I knew who they both were, but I didn't know how to really feel about it. I guess just with the past of the history with guys that jump 2 weight classes, it just shows as of recent that there's no success. They might have some moments, but I don't think Mikey had really any moments. I think going in, I was like, takes his robe off. You're like, ah, man, this is gonna be a long night for Mikey. And it was a long night. I mean, you got to give to him. He didn't go down. And Spencer's known for. He's another one of those guys that's known for knocking people out, good body punching. But Mikey stood in there, man, and I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I didn't think Mikey was going to win this anyways, regardless.
So you didn't see anything?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, okay, at the time, okay, here we go.
What about the fist? What about the fist bumps when he was fist bumping after every round, like he did something meaningful? I mean, did you like what the hell was he doing when he kept like shaking his glove after every round?
Tell me you saw something, George.
I mean, shit, man. I just wasn't impressed, bro. I mean, okay, I will say this though. At the end of it, I was like, cool, like let's give it to Mikey. He tried, but then, but yeah, that was my first time. I know.
You wasted my goddamn time with this one.
Yeah, seriously, and that's what it kind of came out to. For me, sometimes it takes a couple days. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, like, when we do our talks and stuff like it takes me a few days to kind of like really get the feel for it. I'm like, what was the point? There was already guys that he should have been fighting at the lower divisions. Yeah, he dared to try to, fight Spence, whatever, but it was whatever. And he definitely shouldn't have raised his hand after it was pretty much every round. I do remember that now that you guys mentioned it. So,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, did he have any business doing this? Like, I felt like what it was a glorified cash out. He was ducking the smoke, right? At the lower weight classes, he should have fought Lomachenko is what he should have done, right? Even like the disbanded like Mikey Garcia fanboys, who don't really want to admit that there was an era of like this little army of Mikey Garcia fans. Like, they knew what was up with this one, bro. They knew Mikey was going to get it, right? And I'm just glad that he wasn't the torchbearer of Mexican boxing, because he would have been an embarrassment to Mexican boxing if he was the torchbearer. I'm glad that we have a real champion, someone from some real tierra, right? Mexico, Guadalajara. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go on crazy. I'm actually a Chicano myself, right? So I'm just messing around. A
real Mexican.
Just how we like him,
real
right?
national.
From Guadalajara. No, just kidding. But Mikey Garcia got his ass beat. He cashed out, bro. That's all I gotta say. He cashed out. Nobody.
You know what, Chicano?
What's that?
I knew it was a sham. The worst moment that I knew it was a sham was when this dude took a picture with his robe open or something like that. Weird. And
bro, yeah, he came out.
He was telling everybody that, yeah.
And he started dancing. He started doing this stupid fucking dance with his hat on before. You know what I'm talking about? With the fireworks going on, like fucking embarrassing, bro. And here's the other thing too. Like in their face-off. I liked Spence anyways, and I like Spence. And I knew that he was going to put a beating on Mikey, but Mikey was talking about like, oh, I got this, I got that. And Spence was like, that's cool. And he goes, and even if you got all that stuff at the end of the day, he's like, I got grit. I got a grit factor that you don't have. And he did, man. Like Spence was in there fighting in the modern Mexican style. Not Mikey. Mikey was just trying to survive in there, man. It was a pathetic, embarrassing show.
Yeah.
Santeo's going to come for me. He probably will, man, but he's been taking shots at Canelo in the chat. He's been having fun for a couple weeks now. So if he sees this, I'm going to call it equal.
It's a shame that all these dudes try to use Mikey to try to make Canelo look bad. Like, oh, this is a real Mexican right here. He's doing the real stuff. And, I thought it was a sham the moment that I seen him taking pictures trying to show that he could blow up naturally to 147. You know what I mean? I thought that was a sham, bro. And to see the LDBC, cult over there, acting like they believed it, saying, do you see he's on steroids, man? He's got muscle on top of muscle. And, bro, ask me about that. That was literally all fat, bro. The dude didn't even gain, weight that he could use good as a boxer. It was like he came in there looking wide. You know what I'm saying? With no muscle tone or anything. And it was just a complete sham, bro. Just that move. And it's a shame that, that fight even went down. Mikey should have just stood at 135 and fought Lomachenko. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
the gentleman who has like the higher weight class, when he waits for somebody to come up 2 divisions, like usually he has the benefit of doing the whole like well, he called me out kind of thing. And it's like, well, what are you supposed to do? I mean, shit, it's just an easy way to make some money, right? And actually, this fight was on pay-per-view. I don't even know how many. I could look it up real quick. But Nopal, great points, man. And you know what? I haven't seen this fight since it happened. Like, maybe I'll just watch this fight to
Don't
watch
wait.
Mikey Garcia take a
Don't
beating.
waste your time, bro.
No?
Don't waste your time. Nah.
All right. All right. Any final thoughts on this particular fight before we move on? That doesn't look like it. All right. Well, let's end on a high note, right? Congratulations to Spencer. Look at Mikey over here clapping and shit like a
Hey,
bozo.
that would have been funny if he would have put both his hands up like Mikey's little logo right there on his shorts. Huh? That's what
Right.
Spence should have did.
All right, here. So, okay, just as a reference, this fight did 360,000 pay-per-view buys.
I think that was Spence's highest, right?
Was
think I
it?
heard that.
I
I
wouldn't
think
even.
so.
I wouldn't even know. That's interesting. Yeah, not that high. And Sonia, you're right. Spence did have Mexican trainers, right? Excellent fundamentals, excellent grit, knows how to dig. I like Spence, and like I said, I favor him to beat Crawford. That's just me, right? And Logic here also says that Mikey had no business at 147. His last KO was at lightweight. Yeah, dude, he cashed out like a bitch, man. That's all I gotta say. And let's end on a high note, dude. Canelo did jump up 2 weight classes to fight Kovalev. Now, Kovalev was a reigning defending champion, but he was older. Canelo came in as the favorite. Okay, now that's different than all the fights we've analyzed. But Canelo did a 2 weight class jump. Now, there were a lot of notable people who actually picked Kovalev to win this fight. But Canelo was a 3-1 favorite. What were your thoughts ahead of this fight, Georgie? Like, what were you thinking before this fight actually happened?
I mean, I was intrigued because I wanted to see, where Canelo's power would carry. Even if he didn't get a knockout, I thought Canelo would have been able to outbox Kovalev. He was a reigning champion. I know. I think he had lost twice after the Andre, the Ward rematch, and one of them was a knockout. I think actually the 2 were knockouts, and then he ended up regaining that title. So it was a notable name. Kovalev still was dangerous. I thought Kovalev would have been able to control the fight a little bit with the jab for as long as he could until Canelo eventually would take over. And I remember seeing it, and just typical Canelo fashion, showing some good defense. Of course, a little susceptible to jabs. Kovalev is known for having a very good jab, but eventually Canelo was able to take that jab away with good head movement, his typical feints, rolling with punches, and he eventually broke down Kovalev. And I didn't think he was going to knock out Kovalev. I felt like it was a 50-50 fight because of the weight jump, and Kovalev was comfortable at 175, and that's where he was at, and it was Canelo coming up. But it was 50-50, but I was leaning towards Canelo outboxing Kovalev.
Nano here says that he feels bad for Kovalev. Someone woke him up from his nap, then Canelo put him back to sleep. And like Logic here says that Kovalev was on a winning streak when he faced Canelo. He avenged that loss against Yard, right? And was controlling Canelo with the jab until he got caught. I don't know about that one. That last sentence, I don't know about if I agree with that one. Nopal, what do you have to say about all this, man?
I didn't really like the fight from the beginning. Once they announced it, I was like, why are you trying to fight this guy? It's a dangerous fight for you. And, he was very insistent on fighting Kovalev to the point where, he even wanted to pay Yard's salary to step aside, because Yard was the mandatory. So he was willing to pay the salary off, Yard's salary, and then, pay Kovalev, I guess, both salaries or whatever. And Kovalev chose to just fight Yard. And, I guess he wanted to keep both paydays, on the table. I guess that's probably what he was thinking. I get this. And, but at the same time, I mean, people complained that he was weakened because he didn't have a lot of time to train. I don't know, man. He was going straight from that fight. And, I didn't really like this fight because I thought Canelo's at a huge disadvantage at that weight. Not to mention, I don't even think, if you look at his body, he doesn't look normal at 175. and he looked really sluggish too. Like you're carrying around too much muscle, and I guess you need that muscle to help you so you don't get knocked out easy. But and I thought he took a lot of damage in that fight too, man. If you look at him at the press conference, he was all marked up in the face, man. And you ask yourself why you got to take all that damage, bro. Just fight the other guys in your weight class. But being that Mexican gallo that he is, he decided to take that risk. All for the glory, and he ended up getting the knockout. And it turns out to be a really good fight.
Yeah, man. I remember when this fight got announced, or when they were teasing the fight at first, like, right, it got delayed. But I remember when they teased it, there was a collective, like, what? Like a gasp, kind of like, oh shit, Canelo's going to go up 2 weight classes. And then afterwards, it was the subsequent, oh, well, he's just going to beat Kovalev anyways, right? I mean, but at first people were a little shocked because it just doesn't happen. Like jumping up 2 weight classes, it's a respectful thing to do. Like it's ballsy is what it is. It's risky, and typically it doesn't work out for you, dude. And Kovalev, I said this at the time, man. Like, he needed to have like the respect that he deserved from people because he was a defending champion.
Yeah, and this is where Canelo became Andre Ward's #1 enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nando here says the same suckers still complaining about Canelo today. Smooth diminishing. Well, it's relentless. It's relentless, Nando. And Triple G sure never as fuck tried any. Yeah, that's the thing, bro. Like people act like it's so easy just to go around and just climb weight classes and all. They're not, bro. Like if you go up and even if you were to fight like a top 3 person in the next weight class, I think that's impressive. It's even 1 weight class. If you're talking like two weight classes, it's very impressive. I would usually favor almost always like George. Were you rolling with us when we did that whole thing when Canelo was going to face Makabu? We did. Okay, what would happen if were you rolling with us at the time?
I believe so. Yeah.
And we were kind of breaking down like what it would look like if the #1 fighter in a division jumped up 2 weight classes to fight the #3 guy because Canelo was going to jump up and face Makabu, right? Which we all thought was not a good idea. But Makabu was ranked #3, so we were just kind of like going through like all the weight classes. And we all thought that like the person who was 2 weight classes up, ranked #3, would totally handle the #1 ranked guy moving up. The only exception, I think, if I remember right, is like in hindsight, maybe there was a point to be made. But I remember our homie Gringo, he said that he thought that Jermell would at 154 jumping up 2 weight classes to fight Plant, who was ranked #3 at the time. That would have been a good fight. Thinking back on it, yeah, I think that probably would have been the one boxer who would have stood the best chance at the time based on how things looked.
Yeah. I want to, I maybe I remember, I mean, I probably have to go back and check the archive. Maybe I was on there. I remember it wasn't very long ago, right? Cause that was right around the time of the Bivol fight.
Right.
I may have missed the episode. I know I've gotten on a couple of times, but I don't think it was as consistent as it's been like now.
Well, yeah, dude. Well,
it would be interesting. Yeah, you're right. It would be interesting to see what top guy going up 2 divisions to fight like the #3. Like I guess it would just depend who the #3 was at the time.
Yeah, dude. At the time, it was like Teofimo going up to fight Ugas, if I remember right, and we all thought Ugas would handle Teofimo, right? Like Spence going up and fighting Triple G, I think, some shit like that. It was pretty interesting. But we do respect fighters who go up 2 weight classes. Like, what can we say, man? Those guys, they're lions when they do it. That's all I could say about it. They're lions. Okay, now we've actually discussed this fight a little bit, but like Jermell Charlo's chances. Okay, now people are talking slick. Like I said, the big channels are talking some shit. Okay, because they know this fight won't happen, right? But they're talking that shit. How would this fight actually go? Like, let's just talk realistically. Georgie, like in your mind. You said you're kind of okay with the fight, but as far as I'm actually mixing it up, like how would you see that fight going? Give us an early preview of this potentially fantasy fight that probably won't actually pan out.
Okay, Jermell and Canelo, right? I mean, I haven't really got to do an official Ryder Canelo. I mean, I know we were in our group chat. It was a win. I will say yes, it was a win against Ryder. And I did definitely, I felt like I had to go back and not go back, but I did go back and rewatch the fight, but I just wanted to see everybody's input on what they thought of what Canelo. in the Ryder fight, and I think everybody kind of was in agreement. Yeah, there was a little bit of slippage there. You know, the defense wasn't Canelo-esque. You know, it wasn't your typical Canelo. You know, yeah, he busted a Ryder. There was definitely a knockdown. I when I rescored it, I still had it 8-4, but I think I had like one of the rounds was different. But I still yes, I had Canelo pretty much winning almost, well, I guess 8 rounds to 4. But he was getting hit a little too much for my liking on the inside. That's usually Canelo's bread and butter. Like he's a front foot fighter at best, and I feel like Ryder was there for the taking. I think 3 years ago, Canelo would have done what he did in offense and would have taken less damage and would have gotten Ryder out of there. So with that being said, like if the Charlo fight is to be next, it would be interesting because Charlo has shown, that he fought Tony Harrison and he fought Castano. He showed grit, showed toughness, and I think from here on out, I think it'd be interesting to see what the next 6 to 7 rounds would be like for anybody that fights Canelo. Like once you kind of get past the initial, like when he's at it, he's at his best all the time. But like I think when he's gonna really do damage in those first 6, 7 rounds or even 8 rounds, and see like if you're able to outlast that, like what would be the ending. I don't think Charlo would win. I think Charlo would probably, like if it went 12, I think I could see Charlo winning maybe like 4 rounds, of course, being competitive. It would be a close fight. I don't think just like the Ryder fight, it was a dominating performance. It would be interesting to see. It's hard to say. I mean, maybe that's the reason why Jermell feels like he's calling him out now, just with the performance. But it definitely is clout chasing. He is doing what Charlo does best, is running his mouth. It would be, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. I still would favor Canelo, just like if Canelo and Benavidez was the fight. Like I think the gap closes more than what it did in the Ryder fight. I still would favor Canelo, but I think the gap of how wide Canelo would win the fight closes a little bit more after the Ryder performance. So it would be interesting.
Okay, and how much of that is because of the weight class jump itself, or do you think it's more because of just Canelo's more powerful or better boxer? Like, what is it specifically that gives Canelo that edge, in your opinion, even though he is declining and maybe can't go 12 hard
and I don't
rounds
mean
like
to, I'm not saying like declining like a dramatic, like it's,
no, I hear
it's
you.
obvious.
I hear you.
It is obvious. There's obvious there, a little bit declining, there's a little bit of slippage, and I always made the comparison to like Pacquiao, like when he was still Pacquiao, like you can see there were some slippage. He was getting hit more than what he should have, but he was still winning. And I could see Canelo doing that. Like he's winning, early on, maybe taking a couple of rounds off in the middle, and then eventually, like the fight gets close to the end, but still is able to pull away with the win. I think the Canelo being comfortable on 168 would definitely be the factor, and I would say defense, but I think Ryder, again, Ryder wasn't really nothing flashy. Like he's I think what showed for Ryder was his toughness, his eager to stay in there and not go down. So I'm not saying that Charlo will do that. Like he will show like he's not going to want to go down, but I think he'd be able to survive the early onslaught and be able to move his legs a little bit more. And they showed Jermell and Bivol next to each other. Jermell is pretty much almost the same size as Jermell, right? They're twins, so there would definitely be some kind of a size factor. Yeah, it's weight classes, but I think height and length, it would be interesting to really see. But I think Canelo would be able to bank in the early rounds.
Sonia and Nando here in agreement. Great stuff, Georgie. That the Charlo slippage is real, and that Charlos aren't getting any younger. The time is now. Okay, so Sonia said something here, and there's a theory out there, and we were talking about Canelo's lack of defense in the Ryder fight. There's a theory out there that Canelo was fighting Mexican style for his people. Nopal, what do you think about that comment? And then how do you see a Canelo versus Jermell fight playing out?
Man, I like that comment, because one thing about Canelo, he's always trying to, and do whatever, he's always trying to please the Mexican public. But, it's time that you realize them dudes are never going to appreciate you anyways, man. So, in my
Truth.
opinion, it's better to just get on their bad side. The shit they don't like, that's what Canelo should be doing. It's like, fuck you guys anyways. You guys don't appreciate me. I'm gonna start writing with the Irish flag. Nah, I'm playing. Nah, hell nah. But as far as that, yeah, he needs to try to stop pleasing people, man, because fighting like that, you're not gonna preserve your career. And there's a list of fights still out there that could be big money generators, and there's a lot of boxers that are out there trying to say they're the face of boxing right now. So Canelo needs to watch out. I think that his legacy is good enough already, man. He should just try to make these big ass events, man, that bring in hella money and stuff, and make that money till you want to retire or whatever. And as far as the Jermell fight or Jermall, whoever, I think it's a good fight, and I think Canelo would probably make a wise decision to make it a small ass ring, like he did with Ryder.
That's
And
right.
where's Jermell gonna go to? Whichever one of the. I mean, they ain't got nowhere to run. Basically, there ain't that much shit to cut off. They're gonna run into something big. They're both getting knocked out, bro.
Bro, you know what? With this Tank Ryan Garcia fight in the lead up, man, people thought like Tank flexing his A side was like the coolest thing in the world, right? It's like, okay, well, fucking Canelo should start utilizing it, man. Fucking pay these guys
needs
what
to,
they're
bro.
worth, right? Stop overpaying. Do the ring size that you
Yeah.
want. Do everything that you want, dude. You're the A side by a mile, Start making that money,
Yes.
dude. So okay, so a small ring size, and then what happens? Canelo whips that ass. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he just goes in there with the 1-2 and does his thing.
Knocks him out, bro.
I don't know,
Knocks
man.
him out.
Everybody that knows me knows that I don't like to predict fights till they're made. No, I'm just playing.
Oh man. All right.
Nah,
so-
I'm just not.
That's funny, man. Okay, so there's one thing I want to talk about real quick before we go to our Haney versus Lomachenko predictions, right? And that fight's got me excited. But there's a good conversation between Nando and Simon Patterson. Simon, welcome. So Nando's making the point that Jermell, better make it happen now. And I've been hearing this tone from people like Simon. Simon, thanks for joining us. And he says, Nando, he certainly has something to prove at 154 pounds. If he doesn't want to fight Zhu, relinquish the belts or fight him. Why not? If he vacates, he doesn't want to fight him. Simple, right? And then Nando here is responding with, well, I'm a fan of Zhu, just like we are here too. But Jermell unified the entire division. He could do whatever he wants. Georgie, what's your take on this real quick? Because there is this idea that Jermell's kind of like avoiding Zhu, right? Even though there was allegedly an injury. What are your thoughts on all that?
Shit. I don't know. It's really hard for me to really to go ahead and specify if I feel like Jermell is avoiding him. I mean, he's proven to be the better and the more braver of the two Charlos. Like he's unified, of course, a weight class. He's avenged his losses. So like I think that kind of goes to show like that like the era of boxing like we used to watch, right? Like it was like more Marquez. He revenged his losses, and there's many more that have lost and wanted to rematch and avenge those losses. So I don't see why a Tim Tszyu fight would be any different. I think he's playing a little bit of games though. If he really isn't ready to go and it's his wrist, right? I think or his hand that's injured. Okay, so be it. But he's gonna eventually have to fight Tim Tszyu and give Tim Tszyu that fight because Tim Tszyu's been his mandatory. That fight was supposed to happen in January. And us fight fans, we just want to see the best guys fight the best guys. And there's really nobody else out there for Charlo to fight. I mean, if the Tim Tszyu fight don't happen, like is kind of really gonna go ahead and give in to Charlo's request and say, okay, well then I'll fight you. But there's really nothing else. There's really nothing else for Charlo to do at 154 other than the Tim Tszyu. He's just got to kind of sit and wait out Tim Tszyu's next fight. I think he's fighting Ocampo, so he's definitely got to wait for that fight to be done with, and I think that fight has to be made.
They're still going at it in the chat. And not poor Nando. The Simon here says, Nando, who cares if you're a fan? Just fight the guy. This Charlo BS is just white noise. He won't fight Alvarez, that inactive. Well, I mean, I agree with you, Georgie. Like, it's not like we know Charlo, even though, like I said, he spent all of his career there pretty much at 154. Like, I don't know him to be a guy who's like ducking the smoke, right? And Tim Tszyu, like, I like Tim Tszyu too, right? We all like him here, but I don't think of Jermell Charlo as a ducker. Like, this, I just don't view him that way. No, Paul, what are your thoughts on all this, man?
I think that you guys just don't care if he does. That's the thing. I think that's what it is. You guys are perfectly okay with him taking his privilege and, fighting whoever the fuck he wants to fight. I think that's what it is. These guys have conditioned all the fans to think this way. Just like every PBC fighter, bro, we're conditioned to let all these guys get away with whatever the fuck they want to do. And all these PBC fighters, they've conditioned us to only letting them fight on their own network, only versus guys that are willing to fight over here. And I think that, it's fucked up because other fighters got to take these risks or whatever. And I do think that he shouldn't be allowed to play these games. I don't know if he's really injured. I don't know whatever happened in that situation, but it doesn't seem like he's in any hurry to fight this guy. And guess what? He already signed up to fight the guy, so now he has to fight him, bro. If we just let him, skip this fight to fight somebody like Canelo, then what does that say about the whole sport, man? I mean, yeah, I'm not really 100% saying that he's ducking the guy, but it's questionable, man. And if we got a guy like the gentleman in the right there in the comments right here, he's within his right to believe that he's ducking, But let's see, man. We'll see, man. Nice slide, bro.
I know, man. Well, we there's just a nice, juicy Tim Tszyu fan base. We're trying to cater to them. Our video when I had this little thumbnail, right? My shameless clickbait thumbnail, bro. It just hit 1,000 views, bro.
Really?
It hit 1,000. Like
dove?
It's still, yeah, dude.
Oh, shit.
It could be ordained.
That's the hope dove, huh?
Yeah, dude, it's the dove of destiny, man. And yeah, we just hit 1,000 views on that, and it's one of the best like archival views we've ever had for a show. And it's like, dude, there's this big contingent out there, and we love the Australians. Just for the record, we love them. You can come out and hang out with us, man. Speaking of Mike Garcia, when he looked fat, do you remember Nopal? Like when people were comparing him when he was flexing like this to like a kangaroo.
That's what I'm saying, bro. When he had that robe on,
dude,
that was such a sham, bro. They were like, man, Did you see Mikey Garcia? He's got muscle on top of muscle. It was all straight up masa, bro.
All right, man. Well, let's get to the main event because you know what? We've got one hell of a good main event coming up this Saturday, and it's a real lightweight fight, man. This one is better than Ryan Garcia versus Tank. I'll tell you that. This is a damn good fight. Georgie, you've been talking about the blood, sweat, and tears, man. I watched most of that first episode. I'm excited. I saw them talking shit to each other today. I don't know if it was like a press conference or a photo shoot today, but they were jawing at each other today a little bit, man. Like they're both confident. They're both ready to go in there and to win. Dude, why don't you break down this fight for us, man? Tell us how you see this fight going, brother.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys haven't seen the blood, sweat, and tears on YouTube, Top Rank Boxing, I do recommend it. I do, ever since like the 24/7, I think that's always intrigued me. Seeing like the breakdown and how they get personal with the fighters and it's awesome to see. And like I saw the second episode today. I was always already picking Haney. I think little by little, I feel like Haney's kind of grown onto me. Officially, it might have on our channel in the first Kambosos and Haney fight. I did say I thought Kambosos would win. Why I have no idea. I think it was just like I was riding high on the Teofimo win, and I don't think any of us really took into factor in the moment what really transpired for Teofimo, like all the injury, the personal. We heard it, but now that we see how Teofimo's career has been playing out, like it's kind of more evident now that he really is an immensely strong person, and he kind of brings that baggage into the ring, and it showed. So I think before all that, and saw Kambosos fight, I was like, this is going to be a tough fight. Haney has some pretty tough fights against some decent notable guys like a Jojo Diaz, a Linares. So I thought the way those guys fought, I thought Kambosos was going to be able to pull something off, but I think we saw a different game to Haney, and that kind of made me a fan. And I think not just the fighter, but I think just personally, like some things kind of just stood out to me. I think in the first one, of course, his dad not being able to get his visa, and his dad gets there, I think literally like the day before the fight. And at the time, my dad had already he had passed away. So I feel like, I think if I was in Haney's shoes and my dad was Bill, like, not just that, but I think any father that's invested into their son the way like Bill has. And Bill, if you look at over Devin's career, like he's taken the passenger seats, not the whole career, but there was a moment in his career where he had some pretty notable trainers come in, and Bill Haney just kind of sat back and just watched, realized, you know what, like I don't have all the answers to be able to train my son and to be able to take him to that level. So like that's kind of, you got to commend him for not letting his pride get to the best of him, and letting him think, you know what, like I don't need anybody. We've seen it. We've seen some fighters, right? Teofimo being another one of those, with his dad not taking the back seat and kind of letting another perspective come in and try to help his son out. But I think, again, the thing that stood out to me in the first fight was Bill Haney being able to get there, the pictures of his dad in the airport. Again, you know, real sensitive, sentimental moment for me, because I lost my dad to cancer, and then seeing his dad there, I was like, shit, my dad would have done whatever he could to get to go to my fight. And then seeing the blood, sweat, and tears. And the second episode, he's talking about his grandma, and sometimes fighters always have like this motivation. I just saw today, literally about an hour and a half before I got here, Buster Douglas, I guess at the time of the Mike Tyson fight, fought for his mom. I think like something was wrong with his mom. I think his mom was sick, or maybe cancer or something too. But like they kind of mentioned like that was Buster Douglas' motivation to prove something. And I think
right,
going into this one is kind of that for me again. It's like he shares how close he is to his grandma, and like his grandma has always been like one of his number one fans, and like how the family's so close and tight. And it was a thing, the grandma being, you know, a cancer survivor. You could see like the sentiment in it, like Haney kind of like getting a little teary-eyed, speaking about how much he loves his grandma. So again, it kind of like those moments right there just kind of made me feel like it got more on a personal, rather than like, okay, you know what, I'm watching this from a boxing level, because even even on a boxing level, on a chessboard, because this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a chess fight, man. Like both these guys are going to bring their A game. They're going to do great. I just feel like the physical attributes go to Haney, and it's not that Loma can't do it, because Loma's proved that he can move, he can fight you at those angles, he makes you miss. He's 1 minute he's on this side, next minute he's on that side, and he's hitting you with shots and he's having you think. But I think Haney has a good range of distance. He has a good jab, and I know Loma knows, if we're all talking about Devin Haney's jab, we definitely know that Lomachenko's preparing for that jab. So Devin's definitely going to have to come in with a different game plan. I don't think he's going to have to just be the jab. It's going to have to be some other stuff. So I just feel like Devin Haney is definitely Devin Haney's time. I think it's going to be a really close fight. I feel like, you know, as of lately, I feel like Loma has been getting hit a little too much. Yeah, he closed out the Ortiz fight. Ortiz had his moments early, and we definitely can't say, you know, this is what Ortiz did, this is what Haney's going to do. But again, it just kind of shows some vulnerabilities for me and Loma, and I feel like Haney can exploit those. He's definitely big for 135. He's got good footwork. He's fast. Haney and Lomachenko are known for using inside tactics. Who's going to be able to use the inside tactic better? Harvey Doc is the referee, so I think that is gonna is going to play out for a good inside fight. I don't think there's going to be too much of a breakup. I mean, too much of the referee intervening. So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm definitely leaning with Haney on this one. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Haney will be able to pull this one out. I think as the fight closes out.
So a decision for Haney.
Yeah, I say a decision for Haney. I mean, if a knockout happens, I think all of us would be surprised, but I don't see a knockout. I could maybe Devin Haney get rocked. I mean, he's been rocked before. It's boxing. What guy doesn't get rocked? Some guys show it better than others, and I could see Loma maybe landing a shot stinging Haney a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything serious where, it's got Haney backpedaling, but it's boxing.
Okay, so Nopa, I heard this rumor that you're not going to make a prediction about this fight because it's like out of respect for Drew, because you don't want him to be all nervous about this fight this coming weekend because he's a big Loma fan. Is that what's going on? Like you're not going to make a prediction out of respect for Drew Evo, our homie?
Nah, man, I just don't got much to say, to be honest, bro. I don't like the way Haney fights at all, bro. That's just the truth, man. And I'm hoping Loma pulls it, bro. I think he's a special fighter. I think that Haney's a straight-up weight bully, man. He looks huge in there compared to Lomachenko. And, basically, I'm hoping that Loma has enough to just pull this off. And then Haney can go to welterweight if he wants, or, 140. He's going to do good. He's a good fighter. He reads the distance really good, and he knows when to clinch, and he's got an excellent jab. But I just really think that he's an very opportunistic fighter. He fights a cheap style of, and I don't think he takes many risks, stuff like that. I don't really value that type of boxing that much. I think that he should try to mix it up a little more and go for the knockout. Maybe he doesn't have that type of power, but this is gonna. With that being said, this is gonna be a very great fight, and I'm gonna be looking forward to it, man.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it too, man. Thanks for letting me pry that out of you, no Paul. All right, so Sonia here thinks that Haney is not good on the inside. So I've heard a couple of things just recently that I think are interesting. Like one, how will the fight go on the inside? The other thing too is, and this was in the exchange I just saw on Twitter, like today, Haney and Lomachenko were kind of walking together, and Haney's like, "I know what you're gonna do. You're a dirty fighter." And Loma's like, "Dirty fighter? Me win? I'm not dirty fighter." And he goes, "Every fight you're a dirty fighter, right?" And Georgie, what do you think? There's this idea that maybe Lomachenko is going to be a bit of a cochino. I mean, do you see that? I mean, do you typically think like, oh, Lomachenko is going to get dirty if he needs to try to eke out a win? I mean, do you see that being a concern?
I'll be honest. I've never really noticed anything dirty from Lomachenko. Like, I mean, he, if anybody that's dirty, like if I had to pick, is definitely, Haney's holding tactics and what he does on the inside. So
he says
I
that
don't see
You
it.
gotta ask. You gotta ask yourself at the end of the day what you consider worse, because if you go back to like the Rigo fight, you'll see that Rigo very opportunistically doesn't want to really fight on the inside, so he's grabbing Lomachenko. Lomachenko being an expert that knows how to. Reportedly, he knows how to do judo or something else. I don't know if it's jujitsu or something else. The dude is excellent, and he knows when the other guy gets opportunistic and doesn't want that action on the inside, the dude knows exactly what to do. And that's what you got to ask yourself, which is worse? Maybe you shouldn't be holding in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should be trying to fight on the inside or run back or box your way out of it, Don't go on the inside. Box on your back foot the whole night. I mean, that's what you really got to ask yourself is what's more dirty, grabbing or trying to fight out of it. I don't know. I mean, that's
Right.
something that Andre Ward used to do too,
Well,
He
there were
was
two
very
things.
opportunistic.
No, he was.
You know?
Okay, there was two things. One, so Haney said that, well, Loma, what you do, Loma, is you hit after the break. I see you do that, right? So take it for what it's worth. And then also
I
the
think
Lopez clan, they were saying that like when Loma's in trouble, like, he's coming with his head and crack a couple of eye areas if he can.
Yeah.
Those are the allegations.
Yeah. Well, you know what Andre Ward says, and I think he says it with the smirk too, is if you can get away with it, that's your job, try it.
Yeah.
You
So Logic here says that Haney outboxed Linares until caught, and then Loma and Linares was much closer until the stoppage. Uh, you know, I would agree with that mostly. You know, I felt like Haney did do a good job until he got caught, but I mean, I don't think that was the same Linares. Loma versus Linares, like I thought that fight was like I thought that was Lomachenko's prime. Those guys were so damn fast, just moving around all over the damn place, both pumping
Yeah.
jabs. Man, it was hard to keep up with the punches. To be honest, those guys are just like punching like crazy, feinting like crazy. Like I thought that was a really high level chess match for as long as it lasted. So I think that Loma fought a more prime Linares, and you saw a more prime Lomachenko, and then Haney he caught Linares on the back nine. That's what I think. That's just my opinion, anyways. And then here, Nando thinks that Haney's gaslighting. Well, you know, I do think that Haney is a very confident young man. I do like him. He's a godly man. He's saying all the things that I guess he should be saying, right? He's pumping himself up. And like you were saying, Georgie, Haney says that same thing too, right? He says, I have all the physical attributes. He says, like, I'm bigger, faster, stronger. Is he faster? I think that might be close. Like, it depends in what sense. Like, I think Loma's got pretty good speed even at his age. I'll need to see that in the ring. As far as like stronger, physically stronger, yeah, I'll give that to him. I think he's physically stronger, but like who can punch harder? Like if I had to say like pound for pound, like if I had to say like, well, who punches harder out of the two? Like if I needed one of these guys to go in and get like a knockout or do some damage, I would definitely pick Lomachenko. And I do think Lomachenko has better footwork because of that excellent Ukrainian dance lessons that he took back in the day when he was a kid, right? So as far as for me, man, I'm going with Lomachenko. My prediction is Lomachenko. I think that Devin Haney is taking this fight because he needs to in a way. Like I feel like he can't go and this is just my opinion. Okay, like I think that he's not going to do so well at 140 pounds. Like he needs to stay at 135 as long as he can. This is kind of a good legacy when he's sitting there kind of saying, "Hey, like give me my credit. Don't be calling him old. Now you're calling him old because I'm going to fight him. I thought he was on the pound for pound list, right?" But when Teofimo fought Lomachenko, Haney was on Twitter sitting there saying like, "Oh, Loma's old, Loma's this, Loma's that," right? So, but now he wants credit for fighting Lomachenko. I think he is catching Lomachenko at the right time. This fight being stalled only benefited Haney, and I do think that Lomachenko's in the zone. Like he in that blood, sweat, and tears. One of the things that caught my eye is that Loma said that, that loss was good for him in a way because he had a big ego. And, I kind of saw the ego in him, but I thought, well, a lot of these guys in boxing have ego, right? But I think he's a little bit more disciplined. I think he knows this is his last chance. I think this is a great fight. I'm super excited to see how it will play out in the ring. I think that Lomachenko is going to have to start off fast. I think Haney's going to have to establish what he's going to do right away, right? He's going to have to look like, hey, I'm Haney, I'm bigger, I'm dictating things. Like he's going to need to at least pretend to be the big man, and hopefully just like fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like I think he's just going to need to hope that it will work because he is the much bigger guy and he is the more physically stronger guy who can wrap up Loma. Now there's this idea that Loma is going to be able to pivot and fight his way out of the clinches. I'll be very curious to see how it plays out.
That'd be
especially
nice
in the long run. And you know what? I think Loma made a good account of himself in that Jermaine Ortiz fight. I thought, yeah, you know what? Ortiz was game, I thought. And I thought that Lomachenko still did a good job. Everybody was expecting him just to go in there and just whitewash this guy. But that was a good fight in general. And I thought Loma earned a win the hard way.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah.
Could you guys see possibly if this fight, because both guys are coming to bring their A game, man, and I think we will see probably the best Loma. But again, I'm just picking Haney for a couple of reasons, but if this turns out to be like a really good fight, and it's like everybody knows this is Devin's last fight, like could we see if, depending how this fight turns out, and Devin Haney hasn't been afraid to call out the names. He is young. He went undisputed against one guy. He got all the belts. Could it possibly be like a rematch depending on how this fight goes? Like, I mean, I don't know, like sitting here thinking about both, listening to both of your guys' inputs, and not just that, but I'm taking everybody's input into consideration. Like it could be just that good of a fight. Like, right. It definitely is going to be high level. I think it's going to be who's going to be able to, who's going to toe the line. Like, here's my toe in the line. Like, come to me. Let me show you what I could do. I think both guys will, again, they'll both do stuff on the inside. I could see a close fight. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe if it turns out to be that good of a fight, could there be a rematch?
I think there could be. This fight has all the makings for like either just like crowding Haney, who is already an undisputed champion, right? But
Is
I
there
mean,
a
if he
rematch
beat,
clause?
well,
I
that's what
have no
people are asking
idea.
in the chat. Like, I'm not sure. I'm sure there
Yeah,
probably is
that's
on
a good
Haney's end.
question.
I'm sure there is these
You
days. The
think so?
champs.
Because
I'm
he's
sure.
got to extend his contract if he loses.
I mean, that's a
Remember,
good
this is
point.
like his last,
That's
unless
a
he
good point.
resigned already.
You
But
know,
I'm thinking that he wants to go back to the zone, right, where he gets paid more.
well, I mean, that's a good question. Like, where would he go? And it also depends if he's going to move up or not. Like I said, I think he's staying at 135 for a reason. I don't think he has the power to compete with the 140-pound fighters that are there currently. And I don't think Haney has been mentally taxed before. Teofimo said, "Hey, one of the things about Lomachenko is like it's the ring IQ. Like you're going to have to be thinking in there all the time, and you have to attack him. Like you can't just wait on him. You have to attack. Like you can't just let this fight play out. You got to do what you got to do. And I'm sure Haney will do what he has to do. I'm sure they have an excellent game plan. Will he execute it to the best of his ability? Also, will it work? Like, what if he has his game plan? He's confident, and what if it starts not working? What if he starts losing rounds and he's like, oh shit, I'm behind." Right? Like, how would he feel? Like, how would he act? Right? And they've never been under the bright lights like this before. Yes, they traveled to Australia and beat Cambosis, but I mean, Cambosis was just Cambosis. Like, I still think that Haney has never fought anybody at this level. And yes, he did outbox Cambosis, but I think Cambosis won rounds in both of their fights, to be honest.
Yeah, Gambosis wasn't really that good,
He wasn't that good. He was a flash in the pan kind of guy. He beat a depleted Teofimo.
Flash in the pan.
Yeah, dude, like he's not gonna do anything with his career moving forward, which is fine. I mean, we need those types of fighters, and upsets are great. But I think Lomachenko is a whole different animal. So I do have Lomachenko winning. My prediction is Lomachenko, and I see it being close, like 7-5, 8-4. That's my prediction. But Haney could easily win this too. So I mean, I'm just looking forward to the fight. I actually really like both fighters, and I think that Haney, he seems to be like a very good-natured young man. So if he does well, I'll be happy for him.
Most
Cool,
definitely.
What do you
man.
say? He's doing it first for God, second for him, and then third for his people.
You always put Allah first, man. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Dude.
What do you say second though, man? Was it for his family, and then third for his people?
You'd have to tell me, man. You'd have to tell me.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think that's
beautiful,
what
no
he said.
Paul.
That first God, man. That was, of course, Haney's probably going to say the same thing, right? Because they both believe in God.
Oh,
but,
wait, were you talking about Lomachenko or
know,
Haney?
No, Lomachenko.
Oh, sorry. They're both very godly. And they
Yeah.
both pray to the same Abrahamic God. But yeah, no, like Lomachenko's all you can see right here. He's got the Jesus thing, and then dude, right now, like Haney's very godly too. So they're both going to be putting God first, I think. But yeah, I don't remember what Lomachenko said, but they both have a lot to fight for. So we'll see.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Logic, Nando, Conga, Jack, who's in the house. JC came in earlier. D-Style. I want to thank everybody, man. It was fun hanging out with us, with you guys too. And it was awesome having Julian with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA join us for a bit, man. So we will catch you on the other side. Everybody, peace out.